So why do you reckon you sliced that one, Glenn? Well, I don't know. Maybe I swung too fast. What did your club face do? Did I tee the ball down too low? I reckon I had an open club face. Teed up too high. What about that club face? I know what it was. I turned my hips too fast. Maybe your club face was open. Did I hang back? Maybe your club face was open. Maybe I overswung. Maybe your club face was open. Swung too hard. Was your club face open? I came over the top. The fact is that a lot of golfers aren't really aware of why a ball does what it does. And it's important that golfers develop those tools and start to have more understanding of what causes the ball to, in this case, slice. So, in case you hadn't guessed it yet, today's subject is about an open club face. If you're slicing the golf ball, then there's a very good chance, a very high probability that you have an open club face. And that means at impact. So you can have the best swing in the world, the mechanics are great, approaching the ball from slightly on the inside, everything's set up for a straight shot or even a little draw. If your club face is open at impact, there's only one thing the ball can do, and that's slice. Now we talked about over the top as a possible reason why a ball slices, and that's connected, for sure it is. But which came first, the open club face or the over the top move? And in 99% of cases, in my opinion, it's the open club face. So this is what happens. A guy gets to a range, or a girl, hits a couple of shots with an open club face. For whatever reason, it can be the grip, it can be the release pattern through impact, lots of different reasons. But we see a few shots go over to the right-hand side, and that's obviously for a right-hander. Curves off to the right-hand side, only takes 2 or 3 shots, and you know what happens then? That player doesn't want to hit that shot anymore. That player wants to hit it closer to the target. So what happens? Start to come over the top or swing to the left, some aim left. The swing path starts to head to the left-hand side for a right-hander, and that obviously exaggerates the spin being placed on the ball, and then we get a bigger slice. Let's start with the driver. So with the driver, we're talking about the adjustability that a lot of these drivers have in the loft. So the mistake a lot of people make is they hit a high shot because the club face is open, and they think, oh, well, I want to get it down, and then they reduce the loft. So that's what we have on this driver. It's adjusted down a little bit, taking the loft off of the driver, but what that does, it also opens the club face. So what we can do is adjust that. You get your wrench with your driver, and let's undo that a little bit. So if you're a slicer of the golf ball, that means the club face tends to be open. So I want you to loft up a little bit. Now you think, well, it's going to go higher, but if we can square that club face up, then you're going to reduce your spin and you're actually going to hit it further and straighter. So I'm going to loft up a couple of points here. Not a lot, just a half a degree. You get your torque wrench in here, you tighten it up, and a lot of drivers these days are adjustable with their loft. This is the Strixon Z785. A couple of clicks, that's nice and tight. Loft it up a little bit, and now it sits a little bit differently on the ground. Have a look at that. What we see is that the iron alignment, this is a 6 iron, a lot of people look at that top edge and get the club face a little bit closed at the setup, and then they get hold of the driver, and their alignment might be pretty good with the driver, but because they're closed with the iron, they've learnt how to open the club face through impact. And that's really important, is we've got to make sure that we're square with every club through the set. So with the iron, I've talked about this before, we've got to make sure that the leading edge is square to the target, and with the driver, we've got to make sure that the top edge is square to the target. It's a little bit different. That's how the clubs are built, and we've got to make sure that we're square right through the set, from sand wedge and putter right through to driver. So if you're leaving the club face open, check out your grip. If your wrist and the glove is to the side there, it's a little on the weak side, tweak it over, make sure you can see a couple of knuckles, and the line on your glove there formed by your thumb and forefinger, get that pointing to your right shoulder more. That's going to be a stronger position, a stronger grip, which means a stronger club face, and a lot easier for you to square up through impact. Now here's a common one, opening the club face up in the backswing. So what is square? Well, if we just head back here, with that takeaway without any manipulation, we'll see that the club face is actually pointing down a little bit. It should be around about in line with your spine angle. Now, if you're returning the club face squarely at impact and consistently, if you've got plenty of distance, don't worry about what that takeaway is looking like. It doesn't matter. Impact is where it's at, but if you're continually hitting shots with an open club face and slicing shots, then you've got to check that club face in different points of the swing as well. So check it in the takeaway. You can video yourself and zoom right in here. We want that club face roughly in line with your spine angle here. So that means that that's open. That means that I've manipulated my wrists and forearms, opened the club face up a little bit. It's pointing straight up. I'm sure lots of videos have said the club should be pointing up at this position. Whereas that position there, square and aligned with my spine angle, is a much more repeatable and stronger club face position and easier to repeat, easier to square up the club face through impact. So we get back to here, let's have a look at the top. If we've got that club face pointing downwards, that's open. What we're looking for here is the club face to be pointing more towards the sky, and that's going to be in line with your forearm, or maybe even pointing a little bit more towards the sky than that. If we're pointing the club down and maybe you're cupping that wrist to create that position, or your grip is weak, then we're going to see this downward position of the club face. It's possible to hit the ball straight from there, but that player is then going to have to release harder and really try to work hard in the downswing to try to square up the club face. It's a weak position. Yes, there are some tour pros out there that get the club in that position, but they've hit so many balls that they've got good at squaring up the club face through impact. But if you're slicing, if your club face is open, here's another spot to check out. Get it on video and have a look to see if that club face is pointing downwards. Let's get it round in line with that lead forearm, or maybe even pointing a little bit more skyward than that. There's one more thing to be aware of here, and that's your release pattern. There are players out there, if you've got an open club face, then it might be the case where you're coming through here and the glove is still on top of the trail hand. And if you have a look at the club face there, that's pointing up into the sky. And if you're hitting a lot of shots to the right, then this is also a position that you can adjust and maybe improve and release a little bit differently so you can square up the club face. So what we're expecting here is actually the club face to rotate. Forget about all that you've heard about square to square. The club face does not. It's physically impossible for the club face to be square all the way through impact here. It's got to release, it's got to rotate. As it pivots around our body, the club face is going to rotate around, and there's a typical position that you'd expect to see the driver in, videoing your swing, with the toe of the club pointing up into the air and the club face pointing behind you. If you're here like this and you're hitting a lot of shots with an open face, then that's something that you can adjust. Let's have one more go. Felt good. Golf ball tells me that the club face was square, and you can check out your videos to look at those different positions in the swing to see if your club face is square all the way through the swing, but ultimately it comes down to impact and repeatability and consistency of that club face at impact. Understand why a golf ball slices, and you're in a much more powerful position to improve it and adjust it. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to this channel, then please hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell in the corner there for your notifications of new videos. We bring out a new video every week, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks very much.